Hey there, fabulous ladies. Welcome to Bring Back Your Pink, where we celebrate the fabulousness of midlife and beyond. I am Jen B, your host, your biggest fangirl and impact-driven entrepreneur living my biggest and boldest life, so you can too. Get ready to leave behind societal expectations and embrace a life filled with laughter, joy, and endless possibilities. So stand tall, turn up the volume, and let's dive into the world of living life in full color. Together, we'll rediscover the power of being unapologetically ourselves, and we will release our inner vibrancy, and together we will bring back our pink. Let's make every moment count, girls. Hello, ladies, and welcome to this episode of Bring Back Your Pink. Today's guest is a very special guest. I have Diana Todd here today, and we're going to talk finances. Now, that's probably not something you thought you would hear me talk about a lot, but it's a really important discussion to have, especially for us midlife ladies. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Diana, and then I'll tell you the reason that she is here. So Diana launched a business with a dual mission to create a positive impact and to provide for her loved ones. Exactly like me. We are kindred spirits in the journey. For a decade and a half, she navigated the corporate maze as a business accountant, absorbing the nuts and bolts of successful enterprises. Yet, like so many of us that are in corporate, something vital was amiss in those boardrooms. She believed in the power of her financial acumen to uplift and empower passionate entrepreneurs. So in 2015, she traded a corporate badge for the entrepreneur's hat and founded Balanced Tax Accountants. And let's be honest, it wasn't all smooth sailing. It took 3 years of dedication, trials, and learning to see her firm thrive profitably. And now she's eager to pass on invaluable money insights I've garnered to help you flourish. So welcome, Diana. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here, Jen.
I know you are going to share so many gems of wisdom with the ladies today, and I'm very excited for them to hear it. But there is a particular reason I did get Diana on today. It's for what I consider to be a really crucial discussion. Back in October 2022, a parliamentary inquiry revealed that in New South Wales, the typical face of homelessness is that of an individual over 55, and especially women. The findings highlighted how escalating rents, divorce, raising a family, and the soaring cost of living, when combined with insufficient savings and super, are leaving older single women precariously close to the edge. And I find this absolutely heartbreaking. You know, it's so alarming. Everyone needs a safe and secure home where we can live close to our family and friends. And especially as we grow older, this is not something we should be worrying about now. And it's shameful that many older women are now facing an insecure future of homelessness and housing instability. You know, we should not be living with the fear of homelessness at this age. We really shouldn't. So today, let's deep dive into those finances and discuss how it's never too late to rewrite our financial stories and make some changes that are going to help us into the future. So, Diana, I have a question for you, especially for our entrepreneurial women out there, but this is not just for you girls. This is for everybody. But many entrepreneurs struggle with money management. Putting up my hand here, just saying, you know, what is your top advice for them? Just when they're starting out, you know, like this is the thing. We start out and we, you know, buy this and we do this and we do this course. That'd be me. But Diana's going to have some practical advice for us. Better than mine.
So with entrepreneurship, I think that a lot of us could say that when you start a business, you've never done it before, and we're all just figuring it out as we go. And learning money skills is part of that, right? But just like in starting a business, you would need to have marketing skills, copywriting skills. You need to also have money skills because cash flow is the lifeblood of a business. So if you don't have money skills or money management skills, then your business is probably not going to go very far very quickly. Now, the thing is, I feel like there's a lot of guilt and shame and just heaviness around the topic of money. When you think about it, we were taught to never discuss money, right? in my own
Don't.
home growing up, it was taboo.
But even in our corporate world, Diana, like you don't never discuss what you earned with somebody else. Like it
That's
was
right.
actually in my last corporate job, it was actually in our contract. You could not disclose what you earned.
Which I think they have now just made illegal. I don't know if it was just in the States or if it was in Australia, but pay secrecy is now something that is not, you're not able to put it in employment contracts and enforce it anymore.
Good.
So, and this lack of conversation around money and what the reality is of money for a lot of people has led to an older generation now who are in their 50s, 60s, who just aren't comfortable even discussing it. So don't feel like, I guess my first message is don't feel like you're the only one, because you're not. We're all in this same situation together. In our school, and education, they never taught us about money. They never taught us about taxes. They never taught us about budgeting. So like, how are you supposed to know if you were never taught, right? But I guess the good news and the flip side of that is you can start learning and educating yourself. And a really great place to start is with content. And you don't have to spend a lot of money to do this, but even if you just go on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, there's also money coaches, accountants out there, bookkeepers out there who believe in the power of money conversations and have started them in their communities online. Go and follow them. And just start to listen what's out there, see what there is. Go on this discovery path.
And that can actually be so much fun. And it's so interesting you say that, because it's so true in the circles and the people I hang out with now. Money is very much a widely discussed thing, and like we were just talking about money and my husband's business just before we jumped on here, and we're very open about it. But yes, back in the day, you did not talk about that at all. And you're right, like so many of us of this age in midlife, we don't talk about it because it's not you don't talk about money. You don't talk about money. Don't talk about sex. You don't talk about this. You don't talk about that. And that's one of the things. So in your experience now of obviously being an entrepreneur, and I love the way you say it just quietly, I love an American accent. America's like my favorite place in the world. But in your experience, what are the most common financial pitfalls that passionate, and we are passionate, when we're with our own business, passionate entrepreneurs often overlook?
I would say that the first thing is believing that if they just ignore it, the problem will go away or get better.
You're talking to a traditional head in the sand girl right here.
As like basic as that is, you would not believe how many people I've talked to who they really were just had fingers crossed, head in the sand. Like, I just hope this gets better, or if I ignore this long enough, it will go away. And all that does is create this buildup of, oh my God, this is such a bigger thing than what it needs to be, right? Especially in our minds. And so I guess the first thing, entrepreneur pitfalls, is just a bit of money mindset and really understanding that, okay, today you might not be good at money. You might not feel like you can do it. You might not have been educated or given the skills or taught, but today you can learn. You can choose differently for yourself, and it's possible for you. So I would say like one of the biggest pitfalls is defeating yourself before you even get started in your own head. That it's going to be too hard, or you're not going to be good at it, or you just aren't capable of learning because someone in your past told you that that's not something that you're good at. But none of that has to be true if you don't want to accept it as your own truth and your own reality. So that would be the first pitfall, is defeating ourselves in our heads. The second one is not really understanding how much it actually costs to run a business. There's so much focus on money in terms of sales, profit, 6-figure months, 7-figure business, 10K months, whatever it is. I feel like the money conversation has started online in the terms of the marketing business world. But the other side of that is, how much is it costing to run the business? And this basic lack of knowledge around expenses and what it costs to actually put into a product or put into a service, or the admins or overheads behind running a business, is really blocking women from creating profitable businesses. So yeah, knowing your numbers, as simple as that is, and knowing how much it actually costs to start a business and make it profitable.
I love both of those, but particularly that last one, because yes, there is a big thing around, six-figure businesses, seven-figure businesses. But yeah, what's the profit? It's all well and good to have the businesses that are like at six figures, but and I'm just going to go with 100 grand because that's the easiest. But you know what? If your profit out of that 100 is like 10%, that's actually not a lot, is it? And that's the thing, like knowing the expenses. I think that is such an important thing. And I know because my husband is self-employed and he works with a personal friend actually, now, but is a financial planner, a business mentor. And, he knows exactly down to the nth degree of what everything costs and how much is profit. And it's so important. I am more scattered like that, and that's why I really, so happy to have you on here today to actually be able to advise people. Yes, it's scary, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done.
Let's take it one step further as to everyone out there who's an accountant, bookkeeper, financial planner is preaching, please know your numbers, right? But let's take it one step further and go into why. Why is that actually important, right? And it's because when you know how much it costs you to run a business, let's say that you're looking at bringing on an additional team member or bringing in a new software technology in your business, right? The reason why you need to know how much it's going to cost the business is because it's going to impact the way that you make decisions as the CEO, the CFO, the person who wears all the hats, the leader, the owner of the business. And having the factual information in mind and making business decisions based on facts and not just feelings of, I'm going to get FOMO because everyone's getting this email software or everyone's getting this bookkeeping software, whatever it is. I'm going to miss out. It must be the best. But what value is that actually bringing your business, right? What future revenue is that going to help you generate? What, future profit is that going to help you increase? How is it going to look? And that is why we need to understand how much it's costing us to run our businesses. It's not because we want to be able to get on Instagram and say, I've made $100,000. It's because we want our businesses to be able to support us and be sustainable and support our lifestyles for the long term. And the only way to do that is to start with education and really knowing like how money works, how to manage money, and how you can build a profitable business. It's maths.
Yeah, this is so good. And you're probably thinking out there, girls, like, why are we talking about this? Because, we're, in our 40s, our 50s, but girls, I've said it a million times. It's never too late and you are never too old to start another adventure. So, the time may come that you're going, I want to do something else. I mean, look at me. I started a business at 52 years old. So these are things I wish I had known at 52, but when I was starting my business, because I'm very much attracted by the bright, shiny things. Diana probably knows this, but I am. And, I like, I would like that. I would like that. I would like that. Like, let's be practical here, girls. But also onto now that parliamentary finding, which just breaks my heart. The thing is, so many of us, have been divorced or, we are, the cost of living has gone up and it's really scary. So from your perspective, what are the main financial steps that they, anyone listening out here could take earlier on? Because I do know that I have listeners that are in their 30s. What can they do to avoid such a precarious position, in their 50s?
So the parliamentary inquiry actually laid out the two reasons of why the homelessness number was, and they attested it to lack of savings and lack of super. Those are the two words that they used in it. And that is where I would say we need to start. First, we've got to really put a plan in place. There is so much power in setting intentions. When we set an intention behind something saying, you know what, I might be in debt right now, or I might not have savings, or I might not have investments, but I am going to start. The intention behind that and the power behind putting that force into action and creating that momentum is going to pay off as time goes on. And that's why it's so important to get started as early as you can. And there's no better time than today. So like practical steps that you could take to get started are, one, if you've got debt, have a plan for how to reduce the debt. There's a lot of different methodologies out there for this, but one way is to look at the highest interest debts first and maybe work on those. Another one is maybe pick the smallest debts and knock those off. So that way you start to feel good about, wow, I'm accomplishing something. There's no wrong way to pay down debt. So pick one that works for you, put a plan in place and follow through. Then the second step would be to start savings. Everyone as a goal should have 3 months of living expenses or business expenses, if you're looking at it from a business perspective, in savings in your bank account. That way, if there's a rainy day, something unexpected happens, you're not thinking to myself, oh my God, I've got to go out and get another credit card or redraw from my loan or my mortgage, whatever it is, because I have got savings here for this time and this purpose. A regulated nervous system in a situation that can be really like tumultuous, where you're like, oh my God, I lost my job, or my business, I had a bump in the road and it seems like people aren't buying from me anymore, or whatever it is, or a family situation came up and you weren't able to put energy into your business or your job like you used to, and it's gone down a little bit. Having that safety net in place is going to help you mentally be able to think clearly and be like, you know what? I've got myself, I can do this. So that's where you want to start is how can we pay off debt and how can we put savings into place?
Because finances do cause such, massive amounts of stress. And I remember when I was made redundant, I was freaking out. Like we were in COVID, David's business was very early on. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But because I was made redundant, because I was over 50, because I'd been there for 7 years, I got 6 months payout. So that gave me that buffer to actually stop and think and go, what am I going to do? I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to freak out. Like I'm going to, figure out what I do. And having those savings makes a big difference. I mean, this was not savings. This was, a payout, but nevertheless, having that there makes such a big difference. So a lot of us, as we were talking earlier about like the fact that we don't actually talk about money a lot of the time, we've not been educated particularly about finances and might feel really, really overwhelmed and like not even know where to start. What sort of resources are there out there that you know of that would help? Like, so somebody can go and read up on this or, just a website or whatever, something along those lines, just for a starting point for them.
I would definitely, honestly, look where you're already spending time, because if you're going to start educating yourself, getting financially literate, learning money skills, I would start with whatever platform or whatever type of content you like to consume yourself. So if you are a reader, I would look into books on money management. There's a lot of different books written on it. There's Intentional Profit by Claire Wood. There's The Barefoot Investor. There's so many books out there. There's even Denise Duffield Thomas talking about money management and creating wealth through a business. And so I would pick the medium that you're already consuming. So if it's books, go for that. If it's podcasts, follow the top 10 money podcasts and go through and see which ones resonate with you that you enjoy listening to, that you can just put on while you're going for your walk or whatever it is. If you are into social media, Instagram, TikTok, find creators that are creating content that talk about money. And I think that's where the internet has really made this so easy and accessible, is to get information. I think that what the consumer of content is going to have to do in the future is learn discretion, because we're going to get to a point where we've got so much content available to us. Where are we going to focus our energy? What are we actually going to subscribe to? Right? And really making sure that the people that we're talking to, the leaders, the resources we're talking to, the organizations that we're consuming content from are aligned with our own personal values, and also like speak in a way that doesn't make us feel small. That was one thing that really just bugged me so much when I was a young accountant starting out, is that all of the content out there on money was talking down, like, what, you should have known this. I can't believe you're so far behind. This is so basic. You don't know how to make a budget. You don't know how much your living expenses are every month. Like, you know what I'm saying? And we don't have to subscribe to that anymore, right? There's more choice out there. So let's go and find what resonates with us and follow those people, experts in the field. Yeah.
How liberating is that? I was just sitting here listening to you going, wow, aren't we lucky we live in, this age where we've got access to that. But then I was also having a giggle about thinking of going onto TikTok and following financial people. I'm not on TikTok. So, it's like, oh my gosh, imagine going onto TikTok. But that's the thing. We're so blessed that we live in this day where we have these assets that we can go and like look at. So, if you don't have that long attention span like me, you can go and drip feed yourself and just watch snippets and get ideas, and they can make a difference. So with finances, what are some of the trends and shifts that you think are sort of coming along that everyone should be aware of? And especially now, with 12 interest rate rises, and the economic landscape is changing so much. My God, I actually sound so efficient here with this whole financial talk. I just had to say that. But sorry, I just had to go, hello, is this me here? But yeah, what's involving trends and shifts? Yeah, I know. It's like, how did this even happen? Sorry, I digressed as I do. But yeah, changing economic landscape. What shifts and trends do you think we should watch out for?
I think that investing has never been easier. There are apps that you can use, like Vanguard, or CBA has Pocketbook app.
Yeah, I've heard about that
make it really easy to get started investing, even if you know nothing about it. And I'm not saying that you should blindly start investing. You should definitely educate yourself, read up on what the options are out there, and pick a vehicle in terms of investing that feels safe for you. Investing can also be something that you can start small with. And I think that's where these apps and these, there's things called ETFs, for example. So when you buy and invest in an ETF, you're actually investing in many different companies, maybe 50 to 100 different companies. And that way you're buying into kind of like an industry, right? So there's ETFs that focus on healthcare. And so what it will do is you will own a little piece of all of the biggest healthcare companies in the country or the world. And that way your investment isn't tied to one company or two companies in particular, right? So if some make good decisions and make profit, great, you're going to benefit from that. And if some don't, as happens in business sometimes, you're not going to succumb to losing money all in that. So there are smarter ways to, I guess, get started investing that feel a bit safe. So that's definitely one trend that's out there. It's kind of like investing is for everyone, not just those who can afford or go see a financial planner. Because that's, I guess, in my mind, how I was brought up. And that was even my first experience walking into a financial planner. I went to see one when I was 23 years old. I had just gotten my first job and I wanted to be really smart with money. And I remember making an appointment, and I went and I printed out my spreadsheet of all my expenses. And I remember I sat down with him, and that must have been so intimidating, actually, now that I think back to it, for a 23-year-old to make an appointment with a financial planner, a 55-year-old middle-aged guy, and sit down. And you know what he said to me? He was like, "Oh my God, your biggest expense is Starbucks. This is cute. Come back to me when you have some real money." That's exactly what he said to me.
Whoa.
Yeah. He was like, "There's literally nothing I can do for you because you're too small for me," is what he said. And it was the most deflating thing, because I was like, wait a minute. I took the big step here and went to the professional that was meant to help me. And I'm not saying all financial planners are bad at all. I'm just saying that was just one experience that I had in my 20s. And because of that, I feel like I personally shied away from learning about money for longer than I would have otherwise, if I had gone to someone who was supportive and was like, "Yes, let's do this. This is so great. You're in your early 20s. Let's get started. Imagine the things we can do and put in place for you by the time you're 50. So, yeah.
Wow, how condescending. That's because, the thing is, you could, and I mean, any of you out there listening as well, you can start investing with as little as $20 a week. Vanguard is something that's come up in conversation for me recently, and it's something I'm about to look into. And I know that even starting as $20 a week, it is going to grow. I mean, obviously the more you put in, the more you're going to get back, but nevertheless, it's a start.
Sure.
Sometimes it's actually just about taking that first step and not being scared. It's like I'm reeling from that, what you were just saying. No wonder we are all freaking scared. You know what I mean? We don't want to be talked down to, oh my gosh. And that kind of leads to another question. How do you see the future of financial education and empowerment for women evolving over the next decade. I can't imagine any 20-year-old walking into someone like that right now, and them saying that, like, I think I was saying our financial planner is 80, love him to bits. That's a call out to you, Jeff, because I do know you listen. But I know if Chelsea, my daughter, walked into him, he would be thrilled. Mm-hmm. He would be so excited. So, yeah, what do you see, the future for us ladies?
I think that the future is there's a lot of choice out there, because the thing is, if someone today were to go into the financial planner and have the experience I had, I would immediately probably go on social media and start talking about it, yes, right? Yes. And so this is where professionals are being held to a higher standard because of the transparency with customer reviews online, and the fact that we're so connected, even though maybe in person we're far away from each other. Conversations get had online all the time through many different platforms. So, but I see personally a trend being that financial literacy is more affordable than ever. You don't even have to spend money to go on and subscribe to a podcast or to watch socials. Books are very cheap. There's also money coaches out there, accountants, business advisors who have memberships that you can join, money memberships. So if you want to invest some money and need some accountability in terms of, getting started, then that could be a really great option out there. And it's really finding professionals that resonate with you, that can support you in the way that you want to be supported. So yeah, that's where I see trends going, is we have so much choice as consumers now. Like, let's make smart choices and find people who are aligned and are going to make us feel good about, like, maybe not where we're at. Like, okay, fine. Like, maybe I could have done better, but you know what? Let's recognize that the past is the past. Today is a new day. Let's let that go. It's not serving us. It's not going to help us get to where we want to go. And let's move forward. How can we best get there? What is the first step? Right? And so it really is the power of the first step. And then the second step after that becomes so much easier.
Because the first step is the biggest. Talking about financial literacy, what role? It obviously must play a massive role in preventing the situations like the rising homelessness, amongst our middle-aged ladies. So, listening to what you were just talking about, ladies, if you do feel, that you're not particularly financially literate, go and invest in some of these things that Diana's talking about, because I think it would be a game changer, don't you?
For sure. Knowledge is power, right? Mm-hmm. And if you don't, the thing is, you can't know what you don't know, right? And there's no shame in not knowing. But now that you've heard this podcast, you listened to us talk about this, whatever part of this message piques your curiosity, I just invite you to go and explore that a little bit further. Whether it's paying off debt, whether it's savings, whether it's investing, whether it's starting a business, whatever it is, just be curious about it and be like, okay, let me go and see like a little bit more about what this is about and how I can make smarter choices. And just, financial literacy is something that is really going to make a difference. And now the education system actually recognizes it, where they're teaching financial literacy in schools. They're teaching basics of starting a business. They're teaching basics about taxes and things like that. And it's because even the governments recognize how much of a disservice we have had for those who are already through education now and older, like that we have missed out on it, and how important it is to get it early. So the conversation starts with us, and it starts now.
It does. And I'm going to put this out there. And this is actually something I've never actually put out there publicly. So Diana, you get to be the first to hear this. But, I am a spender. Like, I love to shop, and it became probably more of an issue in COVID. So at the beginning of last year, I started out with, I'd say, close to $35,000 credit card debt. I've paid all that off. So what it's done for me is it's made me feel so liberated and so in control of myself that now I am looking at other things. Now, yes, it was not easy. Like, I was very, very focused on doing that, because I'm like, right, I've got to take control here. I need to have that control. And I'm so glad I did that. And, I was listening to you talk about, starting off paying off the debt and things like that. Once you start, girls, it is that first step, as Diana said. It's the hardest. And sometimes the hardest is even admitting that you actually have no freaking idea. And, you've got to change it. And that was me. I did not know. It's credit card. I'm like, oh, I've got this money. Actually, no, Jan, you don't. So yeah, it's that changing that mindset and really like flipping the script from where you were to where you want to be.
Mm.
So I guess the thing is, in saying that, like this probably brings me to another question, which I've actually almost done myself in some ways, is rewriting my financial story. That's a really powerful way to look at things. Can you share a success story where someone's done just that? I'd probably say mine just then, that's a success story that I now have no credit card debt. And I'm excited by that. But other stories, to give the ladies that are listening, not some hope, but some motivation to know that they too can do this.
So this story is shared with permission, and I'm not going to name the individual, but they were in their mid 40s, and they were working in professional job, and all of a sudden found themselves facing redundancy. And they were given a payout, but as we know, payouts don't necessarily last very long or go very far, especially depending on how many years you're with the company. And they found themselves in this situation where they were like, you know what, I could go and find another job if I wanted to, but actually, what if I were to do something that really lights me up? Instead of working for other people, how about if I go and work for myself? And so this person had a lot of time because they weren't working anymore in the early days after they lost the job. And they decided to just, start talking about things that they were interested in. And they had a big thing about being like this health journey and discovery that they had gone on in their early 40s. And we're like, oh my God, there's so much knowledge about nutrition and exercise, and it's just not spoken about or out there. What if I were to start sharing my journey? And got on Instagram and got on TikTok and started talking and just showing up and just talking, starting the conversation about women who are older and their health, and how we can improve it and how they improved it for themselves. And what happened is that it evolved into like a coaching business that they're enjoying now an income from, that they've set up multiple different income streams. They've got not only evergreen like content that, people can buy anytime. They've also got membership and things like that, where they have multiple streams of income. And now they're just like, oh my God, I never thought I would be doing that. Like they actually literally changed their life in their late 40s, right? And I think that that's possible for anyone if you're just brave enough to say, you know what, I'm going to do something different and I'm going to back myself. Let's just give it a go and see where it leads me.
I love that so much, because really you could have been talking about me at 52, when the redundancy came. And I'm so grateful that I was working with coaches that were going, no, you really need to lean into your 35 years of experience in branding and do something that you love, and I don't know, you may not have seen in some of my socials over in branding, but I call that now my rebirth day. That date when I was made redundant is my rebirth day, because I literally gave rebirth to who I was. And, I stopped trying to fit in and trying to be in corporate and, be that corporate version I thought I should be. So I so resonate with that story. And, living your life doing something you love, as you know, is just so important. And to be able to flip that script, and take control, of your journey is quite amazing.
It's true.
So, it's been so fabulous having you on here. I've so enjoyed the conversation. I've even bared my soul and my deep, dark secrets. But lastly, one final question. What is the one key takeaway you'd like listeners to remember from this conversation? What would that be you'd like them to remember?
If you find yourself at the end of this episode thinking to yourself, you know what, that's really great that worked for Diana and that worked for Jen and the people that they know, but I just don't see how that's possible for me. My situation seems too big. It seems too hard. I don't know where to start. I feel overwhelmed. I feel so much guilt and shame about the fact of where it is I am right now. I just want you to know that story was not put in your head by you. That was put in your head by someone else. And if you do not want that to be the end of the story, it's not the end yet, and you can change it. So just being aware of where it is that you're starting from now and knowing, you know what, this isn't good enough for me. I want something different for myself. Like, and just being curious of where does that lead you? And just taking the first step is, yeah, that would be my message, is that the story has not ended yet. We're all still here. We have a new day. We have a new opportunity to do what it is that we want to do, to become financially literate, to learn more about money skills, what we can do to manage our money, how we can build profit, how we can build multiple income streams, how we can create wealth for ourselves, starting with just where we're at, whatever that may be, whatever that situation may look like. It is absolutely possible, and the story is not over.
Oh my gosh, you're actually making me a bit teary listening to that. I've got goosebumps. Thank you so much, Diana, for coming on. Like, I really appreciate your time. And I am actually literally, Diana probably see it because we're on Zoom. I'm literally a bit teary because, yeah, girls, it's never too late. It's never too late to rewrite your story. Diana, where can everyone find you? Because I know they're all going to want to find you now.
So on socials, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
At It's Diana Todd is my personal brand, where I talk a lot about money mindset, practical money advice. I'm known for mixing the practical with a bit of woo. So the mindset that goes along with it. And also I own an accounting firm called Balance Tax Accountants, which is at Balance Tax. So yeah.
Everything will be in the show notes. So never fear if you missed that. But as I say, I just like to thank you so much for coming on. And girls, I really hope you have taken some great advice from this, and there's been something in there that's inspired you perhaps to rewrite your story. So I shall catch you next week. Remember, girls, do not let your life be faded. Always stay in the pink, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Hey, ladies, I created this podcast because I know we need more of it to help us bring back our pink and live our best lives. But guess what? We can't do this alone. So if you loved this episode, let's spread the word. Share it on your socials, send it to a friend, and don't forget to write us a review. By doing this, you become part of the movement to bring back your pink and inspire others to do the same. I'm incredibly grateful to have you in my world as we live life in full color and become our authentic selves. Together, we're unstoppable. Let's keep rocking and bringing back the pink.